Just joking. You're still here. Tell me if the American flag comes up when I do this.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. We're going to use that. Why don't we, who else is on? I know the board's on. I know Nancy's on. I know Diane's on. It looks like Carla is joining us. Welcome, Carla. And there's somebody else out there who looks like they're on mute.
This is Larry Cochran from Sergeant Woods, 11 Oak Hill Drive.
Hi, Larry. How are you tonight?
Oh, not too bad. It's a nice night out.
Larry, are you just here to kind of observe, or do you have something on the agenda?
No, we have the request for the yellow lines on Smith Corner Road, so
Okay.
I think you have the letter there, so I'm just going to listen in. If you need any comments, I can do it. I'm
Okay,
not on
great.
video, I'm just on my regular phone.
Awesome. I'll try to get to that early for you.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Thanks. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at 7:07 p.m., I'm going to call the public portion of this meeting back to order. And I'd like to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. So here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, that was in unison.
Yeah, very
Strange.
All right, so as chairman of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Newton, New Hampshire, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe or listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are utilizing Zoom video for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through clicking into Zoom or using the dial-in information that was provided in the published agenda. We gave this notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the conference call via phone or video. If anyone has a problem, please email bossecretary@newtonnh.net. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote or video vote, as I like to call it. So what I wanted to start with is the board did just come out of a non-public meeting, and I entertain any motions relevant to that.
I move to keep the minutes of the non-public meeting confidential until such a time that the board deems it wise and prudent to no longer do so.
Second. Seconded by Larry, let's say. Okay, so roll call vote. Lisa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Matt's and I. So that's unanimous. Okay, moving along. We have a fire station sprinkler system update. Was Mike going to be joining us?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Can we try to raise him? Because I'd also like to hear him on the Smith Corner lines as well, unless we have a written response. Do we?
I didn't get anything.
Okay. Can you text him, Diane, with the phone number?
Yeah.
What I am going to do while that's going on, I'd like to skip down to D, which is sale of old fire station. On the line, we have our real estate agent, Carla, who, Carla, if you don't know, you're on mute right now. So what we'd like to talk about, and the public will understand if when we're in real estate negotiations, we can't always divulge information in public, but what we can let you know is the board is taking steps to ensure that access to the peanut trail and the fire pond that are immediately adjacent to the old fire station are retained by the town. To do so, we are in the process of getting an engineer to do some survey work over there to ensure that is retained by the town, because it's obviously very important to the town. Selectman Melvin, anything to add here?
Other than the fact that she could probably tell the buyer that we would have a plot plan for them to use.
So, Carla, are you able to unmute? So I think Carla, if you can hear me, at the top of the Zoom bar, looks like a microphone. I think you have to click on that.
Can
There
you
you
hear me
go.
now?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was on my phone, so I didn't think I was unmuted, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I think anything like that would be useful to him down the road, or, you know, obviously it's be something that's worthwhile for him to have.
Yep. So I think what the board would like to do is just to give them notice. We have a potential buyer, so the public knows. They've made us an offer. So we're not going to share details of that at this point, as people may be aware. We're protected under the law to be able to keep that close to the vest during negotiations. But the board would like to share with that potential buyer that it is our intention to move along with this site work or site surveying. If you could do that for us, Carla.
Yeah, I could do that, and that's one thing we could add into additional provisions as
Yep.
well.
Excellent. So we're going to try to get, as soon as possible, some sort of a timeline from the engineer, but I guess it goes without saying that we're not prepared to move further with any pricing at this point, because we don't know how this will affect it.
Is it something you'd want to make contingent upon, like try to move forward with the contingency that the engineering be approved and the lots and the trail to be removed from the sale or excluded from?
I think the board wants more information before they do anything like that.
Okay.
Right now, it's kind of in the abstract, so we don't know enough yet. Does the board agree with that?
Yes.
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 So we might end up doing that, but we'll have to see.
Okay. Do we have a time frame yet on that?
Not yet. We should know soon.
Carla,
We do.
this is Charlie.
Charlie,
Hi.
go ahead.
Carla, I'll be talking to the engineer tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll have a tentative time frame. I'll let the
Okay.
rest of the board know before I let you know, though, okay?
Okay. Oh, definitely, yeah, I just, again, to keep the buyer informed of dates, or,
All right, so we appreciate your help with that, and you'll be hearing from us.
all right, thank you, guys.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too, Carla.
All right.
All right, so I think we're gonna backtrack here. I just let somebody else into the call. Is that Mike, maybe? Mike may be on mute. All right. Remember, for those on here, the mute button's in the top, like the right-hand side.
Unless you're on your computer.
Yeah.
It's
On
in my
your-
bottom left.
Yeah. I think on the phone, those who dialed in on the phone, I think it's your normal phone mute button. So, all right. So, let's see if can I actually unmute people do I have that power?
Diane is saying yes, even though we're not hearing her
Yeah, it's her sign
again.
that she uses for us. So I'm
How can
clicking
you hear
on
me?
participants, and I
Yep.
go and look, and I see who's muted, and I unmute all. Here we go. All right, is Mike on?
Yeah, I couldn't do anything, Matt. It was on your end.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry about that. So the good
That's
news
all
is,
right.
if I want to mute you, I have the power. So
Yeah, just hit the button.
Yeah, except Carla is still muted.
Maybe that's,
Um,
No, she's not.
so Mike, thank you for joining. We do have a resident from Sergeant Woods on, so I'd like to kind of hear about his request, and I think I know the sort of the generalized answer to his request, but I wanted to make sure you were on to verify that. So does anybody want to talk to this? So it's the request for yellow and white lines on Smith Corner Road. So who has background that wants to share?
Did Mike get a copy
Oh,
of the
how-
request?
the letter.
Mike, did you get a copy of that request?
I did. I read it the other day. Yeah.
Do we need to read it for the people watching or no?
Yeah, if somebody's got it handy, I'm having trouble getting
I've
into
got
it.
it. It's long. I can do it if you want.
If you want to give us the highlights, that might be best.
I can read
I
that.
can give you the highlights if you
Oh,
want.
there it is.
Yeah, Larry, if you
Letter.
don't mind.
Yeah, basically, this is a letter we sent one to you back in 2015, requesting the same information if we could get the yellow lines and the white lines from Smith Corner Road from Plastow up to Peasley Crossing. We got a lot of residents here, and there's quite a difference when you go from Plastow to Newton, especially with the narrow road. And we thought the lines would help a lot. When we sent this back in 2015, I think you replied and you said it's been in contact with the road agent who's looking into the costs of Smith Corner Road as well as additional roads in town. And so, they were going to look into it at that time. But now, we got a different board and everything else, even over here at Sergeant Woods. So we were just hoping that something could be done along this line.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Yeah, we got like 115 homes. Between this and Willamine, it's very, very heavily traveled and getting a lot of senior citizens here. And it'd be nice to have the lines down the middle.
yeah. So I know very well the very busy road a few years ago. The highway department helped us by taking down some of the trees at the end of Willamine too, to make it a little better view. But Mike Pavero, as the road agent, I believe you and I have talked on this subject in the past, but what's just your general response?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview. Larry, how are you? Mike Cordero.
Pretty good, Mike.
So here's the kind of the Cliff Note version, not to get too technical.
Sure.
Smith Corner Road is actually too narrow to line stripe. When you put the fog lines on, the fog lines have to be 1 foot off the edge of pavement. And then center line, a single center line, because it's not a passing road anyhow. You could get away with a single center line, yellow line.
Mhm.
Class 5 roads for what is called federal standards, so to speak, on a Class 5 road, you need 10 feet between the white line and the yellow middle line. So that would be 20 feet, and then a foot for the fog lines on each side. So you need 22, really 23 feet of road. You don't have 23 feet of road on Smith Corner Road.
Mhm.
So that's the first one. We don't have the width to put, in the newest mandates, they want 11 feet of travel lane. If we went by the old one, it's 10 feet on a travel lane. So that's the first aspect that we follow, kind of makes it difficult. The second one is, and this one could be dealt with by the Board of Selectmen. I have no line striping budget in the town of Newton. We don't have a line item for it. We have never allocated funds for striping. I'll go like every 2 or 3 years, depending on how faded they get out, and I'll redo the stop bars. And I'll redo, like I just did the end of Smith Corner Road where you come out on the Peasley.
Yes.
I freshened up that yellow division line there because that kind of keeps the traffic from cutting across and getting in the lane of the stopped vehicle. But that's the only budget, and it's not even a budget. I kind of take that out of a non-line item, but just to get that done. But that's just really sparingly when I can kind of get a couple or 3 done every year. So one's budgetary, 2 is just restriction-wise for the width of Smith Corner Road.
Could they do just the yellow line and not the white? Would it?
I'd have to call the state of New Hampshire and find out if they would permit that. If somebody would give us leniency on that, I probably could, but they do kind of follow the fog lines with the center division line is the most normal line striping. And I always have to be careful, and I urge the Board of Selectmen on certain subjects that if we go kind of out of the path of regulatory restrictions and something was to happen, then liability becomes a finger-pointing game. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's you're probably sitting there thinking that's crazy that you would think line striping would help a liability issue, but it actually doesn't. The responsibility would fall back on whoever was to put those lines on the asphalt.
Yeah.
Well, we can look at it. I mean, the selectmen can certainly see if they want to come up with a line item, because that's something that needs to be done. It's not a one-shot deal. I mean, even if you were to do it one time,
yeah,
you'd have to. I mean, the state resprays their lines once every year. We could probably go once every 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, probably 3 years. Yeah.
But it obviously is a cost.
Mike, would we end up doing all the roads in town?
Oh God, no.
We can afford it.
Yeah. If I did all the roads in town, you better give me another $50,000 somewhere in a line item.
Yeah.
I mean,
And my whole budget for 12 months is only $340. So.
it is worth mentioning, though, that when these things are seen by the public, sometimes they do come forward and say, "Hey, can you do that on my road?" So,
Yep.
That's where I was going.
yeah. So, so who else on the board? What are you thinking? How do you want to leave this? Not that we have to solve it tonight, but do we want to move forward with more data?
Yeah, we need more info.
Yeah, we need Mike Pavero to tell us what we're looking at for costs and whether or not striping without white stripes is even feasible.
What is possible? If anything?
So does that sound like a plan, Mike?
Sure, it's a plan. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to that, but it's a plan. Yeah.
So I would say, as far as Larry and the residents of Sark Woods are concerned, note that we'll move forward with getting this information, but given the current pandemic and everything that's kind of had to, rise to the priority and other stuff has fallen, plus the fact that our budget it was one thing when we all voted for it on March 10th, was that March 10th? But all of a sudden, we're going to have to relook at our budget as we move through the year. So I think what I'm saying is we don't want to lose sight of this request from the residents, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to have an answer for you immediately, if that makes sense.
No, we wouldn't expect one to meet. I really appreciate all this year taking this into consideration and Mike looking into this. That's good.
Yeah, and I think even as as the year progresses, if we find it's something we can't do, maybe we can make it a warrant article in March, so that the town residents can say, yes, we'll pay X amount of dollars for line striping, rather than trying to find some place in the budget when we know our budget isn't, padded for those kinds of unexpected expenses.
And what happens if we get an answer where no, you just can't do it? Is there a signage or something else that would help a little if it's not feasible by law to create that line that you could come up with, or the residents might say?
A road sign? A road? Kate, are you asking about a road sign?
Yeah, like slow.
No.
Road, anything.
No. There's no sign. There's no sign you could put up to keep people in their own lanes.
No, I don't think so. And you've installed the 30 mile an hour, speed limit sign, which was appreciated too. So that's in there.
Okay, good.
And if by 34 Smith Corner Road is getting quite bumpy every year, hey, I know you've been repairing a lot, Mike. If that's ever in the budget, that would be nice too.
Yeah, I believe it or not, they've been out for the past 2.5 weeks doing potholes, and probably got another week of trying to get caught up as much as.
Oh yeah, no, they've done some of the potholes already. It's just eventually, I'm sure, it needs some repaving. But I just thought I'd throw that in there for you.
Okay.
I can't get one, maybe we'll get the other.
Yeah. So how does it sound, board, if we put one of those famous agenda alarms for a month from now and revisit this topic? Does that sound good to the board? Does it sound good to Mike?
As far as trying to get clarification on the two issues you're asking?
Yeah, like
I mean, one I can make phone calls the first part of next week, which is to get pricing. The second one is to get a clarification from the state if they'd allow just a center line down Smith Corner Road. That one may be a little more complicated.
Okay. So
but if you want to put it down for a month, I'll do what I can to get those questions answered by then. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like if the board could give me a thumbs up, we'll ask. Of course, the two guys on the phone can't give me a thumbs up, but I'm sure they're okay. So all right. So let's put that Diane down for a month from now, and we'll be talking to Mike and stuff, and hopefully his friends at the state back to him. So, all right. So
if I get those answers sooner, Matt, I'll relay them to Diane, and you guys can just have them, and then you can expedite getting an answer back, without waiting that time frame. But I'll work on it.
Even better.
Yeah.
All right. Larry, are you okay on this topic?
I am okay on this. I guess I appreciate everything you're doing. You can check with Diane too. She's a resident over here.
Yeah.
She'll probably give you the okay as well.
She's our official representative over there, so if you have any issues whatsoever,
Yeah.
I'll give you Diane's home phone number after this.
Oh, I know where she's at. We can find her very easily.
Yeah, you know where she lives.
Yeah, yeah,
I live in the brown house.
Right.
yeah. So do I, yeah.
I know that. So, Larry, you can obviously
Yeah.
hang on if you like for the rest of our meeting, but if you want to
No,
drop.
I think I'm gonna probably hang up for now, but it's been nice talking to you, and thank you very much.
All right, have a good night.
Okay, hello, you too. Thanks, stay safe.
Thank
Yep.
you too.
Thank you, thank you.
Right, sprinkler system update?
Yes, from Mike. So, Mike, your other hat, sprinkler system.
Oh, yeah, for the fire station?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, we've got the tanks finally agreed upon. I'm still waiting for one more price for a tank, supplier to see if I can get it any cheaper than the other two I've already gotten. And just to clarify, because there was a little misclarification from the last meeting, and Matt, we had talked briefly just to make sure I was understanding this right.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm getting these prices and going through this whole buyout thing again on my end is to make sure the number that I gave the board back in, I want to say it was the end of November or December. And then we talked about it again, I think in the beginning of February, where it was a cost for the entire addition to the sprinkler system still fell within Brian Carter's redesign. And as it stands right now, we should be, if not under, right about where that budget number was when I gave it to you at that point. That's really been my only concern, is to make sure the number was still going to be okay with Carter Sprinkling Systems doing their rework in there, because they're a big part of this cost. The sprinkler system contractor with the diesel pump and the vertical intake and all that stuff is the majority of the cost of this work. But as of right now, I think we will be safe with that budgetary number that I gave a while back.
Okay, good. Any questions?
They're still doing final calculations on the. This is a little more complicated than the normal cistern, unfortunately, because we have one tank underground now, and we're adding two more tanks underground to feed a collection manhole. Typically, you don't have to do that, but we have to because we started this based upon one design, and now have changed the design for a diesel intake pump. And what you can't have is the pump losing prime, or one of these underground tanks not supplying the collection manhole equally from the other tanks, because you end up creating a pressure system inside that collection manhole. So it's a little more complicated. Simple enough to do in real world, but running the numbers is a little more complicated.
Okay. All right, any questions from Mike? No? All right. So we'll be waiting to hear from you on that. And it sounds like we're close to getting those final numbers.
Now, does he have info on item C?
So item C is is the fire chief even on?
I can
Yeah,
see
I'm
him.
here, Matt.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I was muted.
All right. So just to let's make sure. So we're turning off of the fire sprinkler system update, right? No other concerns there? Okay. So we've now gone to C from the fire chief, issues with new driveway site plans. Chief, what do you have for us?
In December, if the board remembers, I sent a board a letter expressing concerns about the planning board and also the building department. Everything with the building department's been rectified. we're still having, I don't want to say concerns, but life safety issues. Matter of fact, I'm a little lost, and I know they're elected officials. I know I've sent letters. I know I've talked to them about things that the fire department should be involved in, especially on new construction, that the fire department is being left out of. Just recently, we just did that new house on North Main Street. And when we did the house, we talked to the contractor. We asked the contractor simple questions. Who approved the width of the driveway? And who signed off on the culverts that are in the driveway? His response to me was the planning board. We went out to those houses on South Main Street that are being built. Driveways, culverts, same question. Planning board. For the record, the house on North Main Street, we're not going to be able to fight a fire at that house. All we're going to have is the water that we have on the truck. We will not fit fire trucks down that laneway to fight a fire. It's over 300-foot driveway. She's about 10 feet wide now, without no overgrowth. Some of those, the tanker, I believe, is a little more than 9 feet wide. Picture that at 3 o'clock in the morning in darkness. I inspected that house with Mr. Foote in the pickup truck, and it took me about half a dozen times to turn the pickup truck around in the widest part of the driveway. I am asking, if possible, the same thing I asked probably in 2017, 2018, 2019, is the board, since the board is ultimately responsible for public safety, can the board set a precedent that the planning board, before they approve sites or whatever they're doing, they have to first see the police chief, the fire chief, the road agent for approval. This particular resident was discussed on North Main Street when there was a question by one of my members about the curb cut with the state, because it wasn't wide enough back then. So that's why I am bringing it in a public meeting, because apparently letters, talking isn't doing it. I don't want to be the one that if something happens down there, we're going to have a hard time getting an ambulance down that laneway.
So
somebody's got to be able to do something.
So I guess my initial answer, and somebody on the board might be better versed in this than me, is I don't think it's anything we can set as a board of selectmen. I think it sounds like a good idea, but I think we need the planning board to work with us on that. Does everybody agree with that?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, Larry, you're our representative to the planning board. I'm wondering if you can help us get on their agenda for this subject.
That I can do. Would it be the agenda that you want to do on the telephone conference agendas, or you want to wait till we actually have a live meeting?
I think it sounds like life safety, so we should probably do it on the phone or however they do meetings. But I think basically what the chief is saying makes sense to me. It's just adding a step, adding a signature, and hopefully it's kind of a no-brainer if you ask me.
Should we write
From what Mr. Chairman,
Let's finish with Larry. Larry?
I know he submitted something to the planning board last year with Barbara, and again, nothing got done because the house was built without the acknowledgement of those three departments being notified. But I will definitely bring it up, and I'll get it on the agenda, and I'll let you guys know when the next meeting is.
That'd be great. Let's put it on our next agenda after that meeting.
Do we need something in writing? Do we have a formal letter in writing to the planning board? Or no, just do it in call first?
Let's ask the fire chief. You were gonna say something, chief?
Correct. I have not seen the documentation that an applicant submits to the planning board. From what I have been told, is on the back side of that application, there is signatures for the road agent, the fire department, the police chief, for their approval or any recommendations or suggestions.
Yeah.
I can tell you, my biggest concern is what usually happens when somebody purchases a house in town. I get a phone call from the insurance company and I get asked a whole bunch of questions.
Is there
300
any
plus
zoning against driveway widths?
No, there's no zoning on a driveway width. Matter of fact, and I'm gonna jump in here to, not to get out of the middle of the crossfire, but both residents that the chief is talking about are both off 108. So technically, as road agent of the town of Newton, I have zero involvement on these driveways. That's a state road. The state approves site distance and they do the driveway inspections. But even on a town road, the road agent only has jurisdiction on the driveway apron. So off the paved surface, we can only mandate the homeowner to pave that in anywhere between 5 and 10 feet. After that, they can put stone, gravel, dirt. We do not have the jurisdiction to tell a homeowner to pave his driveway all the way in. That's important because what the chief is bringing up is a different issue because he's referring to what is an H20 loading on a driveway. Engines, tankers, even fuel trucks. They should be on a long driveway. If you got a short driveway, I think this is a non-issue. But if you've got a long driveway going in there, yeah, I think it's important that the planning board puts in some stipulation into their approval that the driveway needs to be sufficient for fire apparatus. But we, as road agent, there's nothing right now in any of the town ordinances for us to mandate what they do on their driveway.
I'm asking, can there be?
Oh, I think you can, as a town ordinance, I think you can probably, within reason, mandate what needs to be done, but there is nothing in place as we're having this conversation.
Okay.
It's a good idea, though. All right, so, Chief, is this, I think Kate was asking earlier, is there a letter that exists currently that we can kind of pull back out?
If you look at your December 2019 letter, I think the last paragraph clearly states that the Board of Selectmen should look into that letter and how the departments operate for life safety reasons. My biggest thing, and I hate to say it could be the contractor who doesn't have to do different things, because the planning board came and seen me for driveways on Thornell Road, and those driveways are being engineered 18 feet wide, 14 feet high, clearance, the whole length of the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
But this contractor, nobody said nothing. And I said something, granted it was verbal, my mistake, I didn't put it in writing, way back when Larry and I went and do the propane tank, and I buried the Tahoe in the driveway. We thought we had to, if I didn't put it in four-wheel drive, we thought we were going to have to get a wrecker. I brought it up to the planning board back then because it was a marshland in there and they were gonna put and culvert it. So what I'm getting from the road agent, nothing against Mike, what I'm getting from him is all these driveways that are private on town property. Who inspects the culverts to say they're the right spec to hold a propane truck who's going to drive down 300 plus driveway? Forget the fire truck. What happened?
If the culvert is within the town right of way, we do the inspection when we do the OC certification. I'd like to do the inspection when they're doing it, but 90% of the time, the building department doesn't make the contractor pull the driveway permit out when they pull the building permit. I've gone through this dozens of times with the building department. And I have gone to houses where they've built the house, they've put the driveway in, and at the time of occupancy, the light goes off, and then they come and pull the driveway permit. It's after the fact. That's between the planning board dropping the ball and the building department dropping the ball. They need to have the builder pull the driveway permit when they pull the building permit.
Well,
And I do the inspection on the culvert that's on the town right of way, but the owner is responsible for the maintenance of it.
So I think we need the building department in on the conversation, but I think, Diane, it sounds like in December there might be a letter you might be able to find for us that Larry could use when he contacts the rest of the planning board so they know what the subject is going to be for this agenda item.
Is it an email or a hard copy letter?
The letter that was sent was in broad in regards to a different, was an occupancy, but it dealt with how the planning board operates, issuing permits, allowing people to do things without notifying the proper department heads. It would be December 2019. It was a hard copy. It was a hard copy. That
So
went.
I probably don't, I would have it probably, if he gave it to me, it's probably in the office.
Okay.
If not, I have the original here at my house.
Then
I
if you
can-
could
So
All
can
right,
you
so
resend that?
scan it in and email it to me.
It will be done in the morning.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Larry, we should probably have Shanti come to that planning board meeting as well via the phone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So Fire Chief, that sound good? And so Larry will get that on the next planning board meeting agenda, and we'll get this back on our agenda following that meeting. Does that sound good?
Nope, that's fine. I just don't want a new resident moving into town when he gets his insurance bill to come and yell at the fire chief.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
all.
That's good. We'll try to work this out. Makes sense. It all seems to make sense to me, which could be a dangerous thing, but we'll see. All right. I'm going to leave this topic if everybody's good. I'm going down. It looks like E, New Hampshire DOT Rose Corner questionnaire. Who's got this one?
That looks like something that we would want to ask the Conservation Commission to respond to. And then if there's anything they can't, then pass it to the planning board. Based on the questions that I actually see on that survey, it falls under their purview.
Everybody
Is
good?
that the letter that has to do with mitigation?
And whether or not there are any invasive species, wetlands.
Yeah.
Water, blah, blah.
So a lot of that, in fact, the majority of that, if not all of it, Conservation Commission would be able to respond.
Do we need a motion to send it?
Don't you
Charlie?
think that they was looking for, don't you think they was looking for information from all boards? Because I know they were supposedly sent it to everybody.
Do we know?
Yes,
if
but I
They wanted
looked at, I looked at the questions, and I think what we need to do is get responses from conservation first. Because
No,
they're going to
I
be
don't
able
have a
to
problem with
answer
that,
most
Lisa.
of them. I do believe the Board of Selectmen need to return it and review it. But this
wouldn't-
board isn't going to be able to answer those questions.
Wouldn't the
I
planning
agree. I agree.
need to be aware too about hazardous materials or contaminants in the vicinity? Would that be planning too?
So
Yeah.
hold on. So here's the way I'm seeing this happening. This is the only way it's going to work. Is I think we need to send it to the Conservation Commission. We need them to fill it out the best that they can. Leave it blank if they can't answer it. Then when we take it back, then we need to decide and build upon there. Do we next send it to the planning board and stuff? Because if we send it out to everybody and say, everybody read and fill out your part, no one's going to fill it out. I just have this feeling. So
That's where I was going with that, Matt.
yeah. So is everybody okay? I don't think we need a motion, but it's okay if we have Diane send this to Conservation. And Lisa, are you still on the Conservation Commission?
I haven't been removed yet.
All right, true. No one's been removed. So if you don't mind socializing it with them, that would help too.
Absolutely.
And then we'll go from there, I guess. Because Kate, you make a point. Planning's probably going to have to weigh in, and then I would say Board of Selectmen does the finishing touches, and then we send it off.
Yeah, so Conservation has their next meeting the first Thursday of June. So that would be the 4th, and that gives us time to have them have it on their agenda to discuss.
Sounds good. I'm good. Everybody good with that?
I'm good.
All right. All right. Thank you.
I'm good.
And poor Mike Pavero, we can let you go, I think, when I hang up.
Very nice. That's all I was looking for. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too, Mike.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
on the new business, I had something that involved Mr. Mike.
Oh, no.
You do. Did we lose him?
No, I was 30 seconds too late from pushing that button.
It was so close, so close. So
Go ahead, fire away.
let's entertain the fire chief and let him go to other business. I'll hold off on that. We'll just go to other business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, the road agent did a beautiful job on the west side, I believe it is, of the driveway at the public safety complex. I mean, he graded it, he seeded it, it looks beautiful. The question that is being brought up is, what is the plans to do the opposite side, the side that looks the worst? I know Chet brought it up last year. There was a warrant article to finish up the driveway. That section is the worst part of the public safety complex. Just curious on what the next project was.
Well, I think what we had talked about was once we're completely done with the tank and the pump house and all that stuff, then we would worry about kind of wrapping it up. Is that still the case? Am I correct in that?
Who was that question to? Me?
Anybody who knows an answer, but Mike, you'll do.
Well, that's an excellent question, Matt. I cannot answer it, unfortunately, because I know there was a warrant that was put in, and I do believe it passed.
Yep.
But I think that had language in it, and I don't have it in front of me, and I didn't study for this test. So I think that was specifically paving.
Yep.
Wasn't there a warrant that was put in that had something to do with paving?
It started that way, and then it became engineering site work.
Okay.
So
yeah, you're right. You're right. It did morph into something else. Yeah, yeah.
So I think,
so I don't know what the intent of that warrant article was.
so I think the intent is just the project the chief was talking about, but I think the board kind of agreed if it did pass, we wouldn't touch it until we knew we were done with all the work over there, because to me, it doesn't make sense to do all of that. I'm not in construction, but it wouldn't make sense to do all of that and then have a bunch of potentially heavy equipment running over it.
But the area that I think the chief is talking about is that gravelled area between the old pavement and the new driveway that I put in. There's just a dirt strip there right now. It's kind of like a little island.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing has ever been determined if that's going to get paved, if that's going to get grass, if that's going to get riprap. There's been no, and if you remember, Matt, way back, this goes way back, before the sprinkler system became the hot topic, we stood out there. There was 2 or 3 selectmen. We stood out there because I had enough funds that I was able to save in the building of the fire station to put a wall in there and finish that part of the site in front of the PD, extend the parking, put a handicap parking, get the parking away from the building. Do you remember that? You remember that meeting?
I do, yeah. Yep.
Matter of fact, I had put some stakes out with some elevation ribbons on there. Sadly, that became a theory and died on the vine because we're not going to have any funds left because of the sprinkler system issue.
Right.
So, I mean, I hate to do it. This is going to fall back on the shoulders of the Board of Selectmen to find out, or we are going to find funds to complete the project. Hence, that goes back to Chet at the podium back in the fall. That was his question, is to finish the project, but where are the funds coming from? Those funds, and I'm going to state what I'm going to state for my benefit. None of that was ever in the original proposal of the fire station, ever. The only proposal for the fire station was to put the new driveway from Merrimack Road to the fire station and only pave around the fire station. I was able to get more paving done because I was able to beat up the paving contractor. But none of that was in the original job spec.
So if I could just kind of cut to the chase here, because my favorite line of late is we're not going to solve this tonight. So I basically I'm asking the board now, I think it is our understanding that there's still a lot of work to be done over there. That I agree with Mike, this was never meant to be part of the fire station project. That's why we put it on the warrant. It passed the warrant, so we know we have the funds, but I don't think we're planning to carry this out anytime soon. We're waiting to see what happens with the project to complete the sprinkler system, and then we want to move out on this. Does the board agree with that?
Yes, that's what I remember.
I would like to say that is the reason that the board had the warrant article take the 25,000 and put it into the engineering and renovation capital reserve fund, because we had no clear indicator whether or not it was something that we would be ready to do this year. And we wanted to make sure the funds were available.
Yeah, it won't expire, in other words.
Exactly. So it was put into that, and the board, my recollection is the same. The board doesn't want to pave it, have them finish the work, tear up what was paved, and then have to go back and pave it again. We only want to have to do it once.
All right, so I guess, Fire Chief, does that answer your question?
It does. I wasn't thinking about paving. I apologize. I was thinking of just putting the dirt down and seeding it like he did on the other side. I wasn't thinking about paving it. I was just thinking about just putting grass there so it doesn't stick out. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I was asked the question, and I'm just bringing it forward. Just the messenger.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to move on from that, given it wasn't even on the agenda. And so let's go to F. Anyone want to do F?
Hey, Matt, does F have anything to do with me?
You know what? We could probably find a way to make it have something to do with you. if you really
Nah.
want it.
It does not, Mike.
All
Run,
right,
Mike,
thank you, guys.
run.
Done.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. We'll
You
see
too.
you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Can I make a
Some-
motion for RSA 21 B43 to accept and expend unanticipated funds from the Government Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery in the amount of $117,499?
I'll second for discussion.
Go ahead, Lisa.
All right, so my understanding is the town of Newton was going to receive up to $117,000. So have we already determined that we're able to spend it, or do we have to state that we're going to accept the maximum allocated amount and then return whatever we don't actually get?
No,
Nancy?
so I have the answer.
Okay,
Go,
So the
Larry.
gopher fund is you cannot exceed 117,499. So what they took was the president or the governor's allocation of money. They divided it up into all the towns by population and demand. And this was Newton's amount that we cannot exceed. So out of this money comes the stipend they just offered for the first responders, which was about $43,000. And then the remaining, say, we're gonna say 80,000 just for talk. The remaining 80,000, we're gonna apply that for the hourly wages, the PPEs, all the invoices, the money we spent, the disinfection of the town buildings, because this money is 100%. We don't have to pay anything. So the more we're gonna get close to the 117 if we can, because we don't have to pay anything. And then the balance of what they don't accept will go under the FEMA, which right now still stands at 75%. So we just need the usual acceptance of the money, even though we don't have it physically. We'll never have it physically. We just submit bills towards that goal. But we should be getting the first check in probably, I want to say, within 2 weeks for the 40,000 something. And the other thing we need to vote on as part of this gopher fund is to allow Kim, because a lot of towns paid their first responders before they got the money. And we decided that I want to see the money before we pay the first responders, because you never trust government. And she wants to know if she can have the decision to do it in one lump sum or two lump sums, or does the board have to vote on that, which way to pay it out?
All right, so let's stay with one thing first. Lisa, is your
Okay.
question answered?
not exactly, because typically when we vote to accept and expend, it's a set amount. Now, this is more of an up to, so, or not to exceed, because we're not getting 117,000. We will get essentially up to 117,000, depending on whether or not we have the expenses that we can apply towards that amount. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Kate, do you want to change your motion?
So then change the wording to just the accept part, not the expend.
To accept it,
I can rescind it and Lisa, you can make it again. You want to make it again?
unanticipated funds up to,
Okay.
not to exceed.
That to accept and expend unanticipated funds not to exceed $117,499. Is that would be the way?
Anybody want to second that?
Yeah. blah. Was that was just an amendment, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
can rescind if you want. You can start from scratch.
no, I will second the amendment.
Right.
This
Okay.
way we're not doing a rescinding and a new motion.
All right, we've discussed enough. Let's go around. Kate, how do you vote?
Hi.
Charlie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Mattson, aye. So we're good with that. Now, Larry, you're saying Kim needs another motion from us.
Well, no, she's asking if she does, or she just allowed to pay it out as she feels it's more feasible to save money. Because like
Yeah.
towns like Kingston, they're paying it on a weekly basis, so they're mailing checks out weekly. We don't
Yeah.
do weekly in our town. So she was just asking if she needs a motion or if she can just pay the bills.
I'm okay with her just paying the bills. What's the rest of the board think?
I'm okay with her paying the bill.
I think Kim should make the decision as to when to pay the bill.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Great.
So the direction, you can put it in the minutes, Diane, is the board is supportive of the bookkeeper using her discretion on the payouts of these funds for the first responders.
And I think, Diane, we're probably gonna need those minutes saying that we accepted the, if we want to call it a grant, yeah, it's a grant. For the Gopher Relief Fund.
When?
Not tomorrow, you'll have time. Yeah,
Nothing
the other
but
one
time.
was time sensitive. The other one was time sensitive because they had to accept this by last Friday. That's why we needed the minutes as soon as possible. But we don't need these minutes right away.
All right, I'm going to switch gears, and can somebody start us off on the manifest? Unfortunately, I can't see.
Matt, I'll make a motion to sign vendor manifest dated May 19, 2020, in the amount of $70,860.72.
Second,
Second.
Lisa won that race. So, Lisa, how do you vote?
aye.
Kate? Kate, are
Aye.
you abstaining? No?
No, aye.
Okay, good.
I didn't hear my-
Charlie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Matt's and I, so that's unanimous.
And I make a motion to sign the cable vendor manifest dated May 19, 2020, in amount of $6,776.17.
Second,
Seconded by Lisa. Let's go around the horn. Kate?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Lisa?
aye.
Matt's and I, unanimous.
And I make a motion to sign the new fire rescue station vendor manifest dated May 19, 2020, in the amount of $3,176.
Second,
Seconded by Lisa. Let's go around. Kate?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Lisa?
aye.
And Matt's and I, unanimous.
And the last one, make a motion to sign payroll manifest for pay period April 26 to May 9, 2020, with the pay date of May 14, 2020.
Second,
All right, so let's go around. Kate?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Lisa?
aye.
Matt's and I, that's unanimous. All right, thank you on the manifest. Do we have any appointments?
Yes.
We do. Upon recommendation from the planning board, I move to appoint Mr. James Doggett as a Rockingham Planning Commission Commissioner, term to expire March 31, 2024.
Get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kate. Let's go around. Charlie, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Larry?
Abstain.
So I'm sorry, did both Charlie and Larry abstain, just to be clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could we ask for a reason for the abstention?
Yeah, this was a voted thing.
Yeah, it would probably have to be a non-public.
Okay. So let me put it to you this way. Do we want to put this on a later agenda?
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay. So let's do that. Diane, if you
Let-
could put this on a later non-public.
Am I
And
putting the
I think we
appointments?
should hold off on the other two as well. Yeah,
Okay.
we're,
So the appointment's non-public, and it sounds like it's under D.
Okay. D or C for reputation?
I'm sorry, C.
Okay.
I always get my letters mixed up.
So you want all three of those?
Alternates, everything? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm rescinding my motion, and I think it is best to not do any of these until we have our non-public.
All right. Okay. So those were the only appointments, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so announcements just really quick. Monday is Memorial Day. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, we will not be having our normal parade and honor ceremony. Instead, around 10 a.m., there is going to be a vehicle-only, socially distant parade that's going to come through most of town. They won't be able to do the whole town. But we ask that residents still abide by social distancing, and they can observe the parade from their front lawn, but we do not want people in large groups along the parade route, right? So the guidelines are no more than 10 people. So we don't want any cars lined up, anything like that. So just a word to the wise to the residents, but please use this as a way to honor the fallen heroes that we have, because we won't be able to do so as we normally would. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, Matt, where's the jump off on that?
8 Merrimack Road, beginning and end.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Matt, I have one thing.
Sure.
We have a veterans credit that I'd like the board to approve, please.
Okay. Anybody want to read that?
No, I just put it down. No.
I can tell you it's map 7, block 3, lot 30,
So move.
Looks so moved.
and it's for 2020.
So I'm going to make that motion.
I think
Anybody wanna
Charlie
step-
already did the so moved.
Perfectly. So
And
Charlie,
I second that motion.
Lisa seconds. Let's go around. Larry, how do you vote?
Aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
and Matt's and I. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Anything else for tonight? So tomorrow night's another COVID meeting, because we love those. Wondering if, without drawing this out, do we want to continue our Zoom experiment to tomorrow night? Because I, for one, appreciate there's not so much of a delay on this audio.
Yes, and then we can have Trisha's pretty face on here too.
Exactly. Because that's all people want to see is Trish, basically. They don't want to see us. So Trish has the best information to share. So,
For sure.
so Diane, is it too late to add that to the posting to the public? Just cut and paste?
I mean, I can add it, but you're hoping everybody sees it. That's the problem. But you
Yeah.
can try.
Yeah, give it a shot. It's an experiment, but all right. So anything else for tonight?
Do we need, are all the minutes approved that we need done?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So I move to adjourn at 8:13 p.m.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. And this is where I like to say we all agree. I'm not even going to go
We all
around.
agree.
So
Can I, this is just for Zoom. So you guys that are on the phone, you should be able to rename yourself so people know who you are. If you click on it, right, and in your box, you should be able to rename yourself there. Like for Larry and for Charlie, who, okay?
Yeah, so we don't just see your phone numbers, we see your
Right.
actual name.
So if you go to participants, they're on the phone though, right? Maybe they can't do it if they're on the phone.
yeah, that's what I
You
was.
can't do it on a phone. It's just a
Yeah.
dial pad, Diane.
Yeah,
It's a great dial of the phone number. So,
yeah, okay, all right. That might work. Never mind.
all right. Thanks anyway. Have
Okay,
a good night,
bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.